Hi, my name is Josh Bashinsky and welcome to another session of Mastering Google SEO for 2012. Today's video is very exciting. We have a recap and a lot of updates. We're going to have some new SEO tricks, and also we're going to have tons of experiments and research that I've been doing into SEO. We're in June 2012, so we're halfway done, so I thought it'd be a good time to recap the SEO rules as they're working in 2012. And so we're going to have a Penguin update, Google bonus, and then the recap of the 2012 SEO rules. So let's get to the video. Okay, so on to the Penguin update. I know a lot of people are still affected by Penguin, and so I want to offer some more reassurances into exactly what Penguin is doing, some more proof into exactly what Penguin is doing, and furthermore, I want to share all of the methods I know of how to fix Penguin. Actually, it's quite easy to do once you know exactly what Penguin is doing. The reason why people are having so much trouble is because there's so much misinformation out there about Penguin. So I was at a conference called SMX Advanced in the first week of June, and there Matt Cutts leaked some information. In fact, he leaked quite a bit of information, but not the least of which is that he mentioned that Penguin is page-based. You can see this in the UNA session he did with Danny Sullivan. In that session, Danny Sullivan asked him, why is it that WPMU.org was hit by Penguin and for having exact match footer links, whereas WordPress.com, which has far more exact match footer links, was not hit? And Matt Cutts replied as if this was the dumbest question in the world. He said, because they don't have as many bad pages linking to them. They, referring to WordPress.com. So he said pages. Penguin has always been page-based. When they first put it out, it was the overall optimization penalty. The examples that Matt Cutts showed were pages, and he said they were looking for keyword stuffing. And Matt Cutts again confirmed at SMX Advanced that they're looking for pages. So Penguin is definitely page-based, and I covered everything, as far as I know, everything that it looks for last video. You can check that out. But essentially, it's hidden keywords, keywords that are out of view, the title attribute for the anchor tag. John Mueller, another Google employee, specifically mentioned in a forum not to use those. And if you have any keywords in them, ranking keywords, stuff you can rank on, and repetitive keywords. So you have to keep in mind that this includes your backlink pages. So I think this is a reason why people are getting quite confused, because if your backlink pages have keyword stuffing or repetitive keywords in them or hidden keywords in them, and they lose their ranking because of Penguin, then so too do all the pages that they link out to are going to lose their rank as well. So that's, I think, why people think it's link-based, and that also because there's a lot of misinformation out there, probably on purpose, because Google wants you to delete these backlinks, but you don't need to, and I'll explain why in a second. Another thing that he mentioned in this interview, which I found was very interesting in relation to Penguin, is that he mentioned that Penguin offers negative ranking factors. That means that the link juice, and so I got worried about this, and I conducted an experiment to prove what I'm about to say. It's that the link juice coming off of Penguin pages that have been hit by Penguin actually offer negative link juice. So a regular link offers some kind of positive page rank, some kind of positive link juice, and then of course that aggregates up to be more. So this is SEO 101. Everyone knows that links have positive link juice. And in the last 12 years of SEO, Google has never made a link offer negative link juice, apparently until now. Because, and the general idea is that they want to discourage people from doing what they consider to be black hat SEO. And so now they're actually offering negative link juice on any page that has been hit by Penguin. So when I heard this at SMX Advanced, I got a little bit worried, and so I conducted a couple of experiments to find out if this was actually the case. And so we can look at the data here, and we can see that Penguin pages are offering negative page rank. So on April 24th, when Penguin hit, I had 3 Penguin sites that were hit very badly. And they linked out to subpages on another site. Now this other site wasn't hit by Penguin at all, and the rankings impressions basically stayed the same, except with these 3 subpages, which all decreased their ranking. The first one that scrolled by was 38%, this second one is 4%, and this final one lost some spots as well. So once again, these subpages had no on-page problems, and these Penguin sites were their only link, which is why they rank so low. So what I did was I deleted the link from the Penguin affected sites on June 14th. And when the Penguin affected sites were cached on June the 17th, immediately
the ranking on the subpage on the other site immediately improved. The second one by 13%, the first by 30%, and the third by 19%. It's not normal for a page to improve in ranking when you remove a link to it, only if that link has somehow gone bad. And this is what I think Penguin is now doing. So let's recap. On April 24th, these subpages lost ranking exactly when their most powerful backlink site was hit by Penguin. On the 14th, I deleted the link, and on the 17th, those backlink pages were spidered, and the subpages immediately gained ranking when they lost that link. There was no Penguin refresh on June 17th, and these links were all generic anchors. They were not exact match and did not fit the profile for exact match anchor spam. So then what the heck is going on?
It certainly looks like Penguin pages are offering negative link juice. And not only this, but I have an independent confirmation from another Google employee by the name of Miley Oyi. I met her at the conference, but also she was on a Hangout on Air on Google Plus recently, in which I point blank asked her and another group of Google associated webmasters. I point blank, and I'll put the link to this video so you can see exactly what I asked and exactly what they responded. But essentially, just to recap it for you, Miley Oyi said that,
and I quote, "I would definitely say that getting those links removed certainly helps if you have been touched by a Penguin update. That's not just blowing hot air. That's really true.
There's no need to go delete the links unless they're specifically giving you some kind of a problem." And remember, Penguin is an algorithmic adjustment. It's not a manual penalty. So it's not that the links are giving you some kind of penalty because they all add up. It's because these pages are offering negative link juice, as my experiment indicates. Now, does that mean you need to delete your backlinks? No, of course not. Just because Google wants you to doesn't mean we're going to go do it, right? No, in fact, there are far more easy ways to get rid of Penguin than to delete your backlinks. And they're far faster and work far more efficiently, which I'll explain in a second. Okay, so how do we kill Penguin? Well, it's actually quite simple if you know how to do it. There's two things you want to consider. One is prevention, and then fixing Penguin if it ever hits you. So to prevent Penguin from hitting you or your backlink pages, if you're creating your own backlink pages, what you want to do is make sure you don't keyword stuff on any page, or don't hide any keywords on any page. That includes the meta keywords, that includes the title attribute for the anchor tag. Again, if you want my full information on Penguin, you can look at the last video, exactly what it's looking for. Also make sure your backlink pages are spun beyond 60% unique, and make sure they're human readable every spin. If you're using spinning software, make sure every spin that comes out is human readable, so there's no grammatical problems or reading level problems, just in case Penguin's searching for something like that. And if Penguin does hit your pages on your site or your backlink pages, the next thing that you can do is, well, make sure that there's no keyword stuffing or hidden keywords on any of those pages. After that's done, you don't need to go and delete your backlinks. One, it would be almost impossible to find them. Two, it would take months and months to delete them. It would be much faster and much easier if you simply just overwhelm your site with more links. Just build more links to the pages, and that should outweigh the negative link juice. Even if that's wrong and there's some kind of flag, some kind of semi-permanent flag that hits those pages, Penguin is a page-based algorithm, and so there are other ways to handle it that I have seen work, and I do have proof that works. For example, you can copy the content on a Penguin hit page to a new page, amend your site structure so that you're linking to that new page, and that page will rank almost immediately. So you can always copy the content from a Penguin hit page to a fresh page, and then you can build more links to it. But then you ask, well, what if my index page was hit? Well, if you have been building intelligently, you've been using disposable subpages, and you've been using 301 redirects to route link juice through, so you can cut off that 301 redirect if any of those links go bad. And if you've been doing that, then by all means, you can, if it takes you 3 seconds, you can delete the 301s, you can change the 301s. You can also delete the subpages and copy them over like I've just said, and that would solve the problem as well. But if you haven't been doing that, unfortunately, then it's still not a problem. There's two other ways around it. One, this tactic has been floating around on all the different forums for a little while. You can do a domain-to-domain 301. So the exact site structure on site A 301s to the exact site structure on site B. Page 1 to page 1, page 2 to page 2, etc. So new domain, old domain, 301s to new domain. And then you throw a bunch of links at it through the old domain and then a bunch of links at the new domain as well. This has been reported to work a number of times. Also, everyone gets fixated on their index page as if it's the most important thing in the world. It's not. You can just leave the index page hit. All the subpages will still rank. Penguin is a page-based demotion, right? So if you're ranking for a bunch of long tail, then you might not even need to change anything on the index page. And even if you still want to, what you can do is you can 301 all the link juice that's going to your good subpages, and you can just 301 that all to a new domain as well. And you can leave the index page. So there's all different kinds of things you can do that are much easier, much faster than going and deleting your backlinks. I know I said last video that I didn't think you would need to delete your backlinks because it didn't look like, and I never dreamed that Google would be offering negative link juice on links. They've never done that before, and that would open a huge door for negative SEO, which it apparently has. And of course, if you can easily delete those backlinks, then by all means go right ahead. But it would be much faster and easier just to build new links and to copy the content over to other pages. Okay, not all news from Google is bad news. And in fact, Google can do some what seems to us like counterintuitive things sometimes. But if you remember back in February when the rumors leaked out of the over-optimization penalty, which became Penguin later on, Matt Cutts mentioned that he wanted to make it easier. He wanted to level the playing field, essentially, for SEO. He wanted to make it easier for low SEO and no SEO sites to rank. Well, could it be possible that Google is offering some kind of algorithmic boost in addition to a bunch of algorithmic penalties? The answer seems to be yes. Around May 4th, I was tracking 4 sites of mine that suddenly had a huge spike in traffic. Like by overnight, some of them were ranking 400 to 500% better. And it was very strange. I hadn't been doing link building to some of the sites, but not all of the sites. And there was no +1s, no social signals, nothing like that. So I wondered what could be the commonality between all these sites. And I took a look and I found that they all had a very generic anchor text profile in their backlinks. So I can show you that now. Take a look.
So as you can see, there are 4 sites. All of them have the same impression ranking increase you can see at the bottom there. And as you can see, all of them have very generic anchor text. Click here, natural signals, URL links, great site for kind of natural signals, the brand name, some slogan-y stuff. Nothing that's all that exact, and they all had an increase. Similar to what you can see below. So again, there was no exact match anchor text. It was all just generic.
So as I said, there was no social signals, all the sites were the same, they're all very generic, very simple, but they all had this huge boost on May 4th. And I think, of course, May 4th would only be a week or two after the first Penguin was released. And so everyone always thinks of Google in terms of what they're taking away. Sometimes Google puts algorithms out there to give you a benefit, to give you a bonus. And they could try and penalize for exact match anchor text. But the problem with that is that the natural link profile that everyone talks about is actually a myth. There's no such thing as a natural link profile for a number of reasons. One, the internet is more varied than that. And two, a lot of people are doing black hat SEO, and so the natural link profile is going to be skewed towards the black hat, right? For example, but it happens even innocently, right? There's too many sites that have 80% of the backlinks or 70% of the backlinks are some, their company name or something specific to them, right? So, for example, if you have a project management software, it wouldn't be uncommon at all for like 70% of your backlinks, and I've seen this, to have the name of the project, XYZ project management software. That's your backlink profile, essentially. And so I'm sure Google may have tried it and found that they took too many good sites out of the equation by doing that. And so what do they do instead? Well, they give you a boost for having generic anchor text. So there's been tons of experiments that have already been done on SEO Miles and whatnot that shows that partial match anchor text and generic anchor text can rank you fairly well. Well, here's another example. They may actually give you a large boost for it. Google has just recently, around June 25th or so, put out a ton of SEO information. Previously, all of their SEO tips has been just build the best site you can. Very helpful, thank you. But now they're actually going and they're producing tons of actually actionable tips and rules you're supposed to follow. Actually suggested practices. For example, everyone thinks, especially because of Penguin, that exact match anchors are bad. Now, I've said in the past that you should avoid spamming your profile with them, but only because that's something that Google could use and could be involved in the unnatural link messages. Not necessarily that they're going to use. Exact match anchors are not actually all bad, because it's actually Google's recommended practice. Google has produced a video that is supposed to tell you how to do SEO, and they say you're supposed to use what they call descriptive anchor text. For example, the exact thing they say is that if you have a product specifications page, click here is not a good link to that. The link pointing to your product specifications page should say product specifications. They actually go and specifically say that. That's their recommended practice of how to do SEO. So, Google does all kind of strange things. And, it may not be that they're penalizing for exact match anchor text. In fact, that's their recommended practice. But it might be that they're going to give a boost to the little guy who hasn't been doing any SEO and give who has a bunch of generic anchor text. So we can see that Google has a number of boosts they're offering as well. The generic anchor boost that I just talked about, you can by all means take advantage of it by throwing generic anchors at your site and partial match anchor text with the natural sounding words like great site for or click here for this, that kind of a deal. Now the next boost I want to talk about is the encircled author boost. What's that? Well, when you put an author snippet on your page, sometimes if Google recognizes it properly, it'll associate a certain author with the web page in the SERPs. So you've seen the Google SERPs before. I'm sure you've seen the author snippet show up, a little picture of the person beside the page that they supposedly authored. What you can do is you can take that author snippet that you put into your page and you can associate it with your Google Plus profile. There's a little space in your Google Plus profile to say I'm an author of this page or I contributed to this page. And then I noticed that if you have more circle followers, if you're encircled more times, you seem to shoot up in the rankings. Because I've noticed a week or two ago that the rankings seem to be increased for sites that had done this. So I decided to test it out. So what I did is I took my Google Plus profile and I associated it with an author snippet on a site that I'm working on. And I noticed the difference that there was a boost in rankings. Now the site was rather new, but there was a fairly substantial boost in rankings, so check it out.
So although the site is new, the day after I associated it with my Google Plus profile, it immediately started to boost up for many different terms, including long-tail terms and some head terms as well. So that's an interesting boost.
So as you can see, although the site was admittedly very new, and I have been link building to it, the day after I I associated my Google Plus profile with the site, suddenly the site, the day after, started ranking much, much better. Started ranking for stuff it wasn't previously ranking for. So coincidence? It could possibly be, but you couple that evidence with the evidence that all the SERPs I look at now, I see way more authors showing up. That and the fact that Google just published a bunch of information on June 25th, including how to use social signals to rank, is one of the actual videos they produced, which I'm about to talk about in a second. That gives me some evidence to think that they are using social signals now. So let's take a look, with that as a segue, let's take a look at all the different rules that Google is using now and all the evidence we have to suggest that they're using these different things now, and construct a rough SEO rule set for the rest of 2012. Given that we're 6 months into 2012, and given all the changes that Google has made recently to their algorithms, and all of the information that they've recently published as to how to rank your sites, that I will link to either in the video or in the comments below, I think it's high time we throw out all of the old on-page and off-page models. I think it's high time we throw that out and focus on the new algorithms that Google seems to be using. And I describe them in this way, in terms of a site's usage, in terms of a site's popularity, in terms of a site's quality, and in terms of a site's reputation. So these are all my opinions of, I think, what could fall under these kinds of categories and the kinds of algorithms they're using based on the experiments I've shared today and tons of other experiments that other SEOs have done. I also have a ton of other reference material that I can link to, and I will at the end of this video or in the comments to back up what I'm saying here. So these are just some examples of what you could find under each. So under usage, what kind of things could they be using there? Well, it's been known for a long time, and Matt Cutts also kind of half-heartedly admitted at SMX Advanced, that they are using the Google SERP page click-through rate to determine the quality of sites. But what else could they be using? Well, they could be using the site click-through rate. What path does a visitor take through your site? Are they finding what they're looking for? How long do they spend on your site? They could be tracking that as well, very easily through Chrome, Firefox, toolbar installs, and through analytics, although they claim not to be using analytics. And also they could be tracking returning visitors. And finally, this is something that they talk about quite a bit. What is your SERP to page terminus? That means how long did it take for the user to find exactly what they wanted on your site and then came back to the search engines or stopped surfing altogether. This is going to be a good indication of if your site's a high quality site based on how well it's used. The next one is popularity. It's been well known for a while now that they've been using trending traffic. So if your site gets a whole bunch of traffic, it'll get a boost in rankings right away, but if the traffic goes away, the ranking can decrease. They've been using that for quite some time. Also now it looks like they are using social signals. Again, I have the experiment that I just showed you, and also all the information from Miley Oye's videos that she's been putting out. It does look like they're using social signals, and you know, each section of algorithms is a different bucket they use to weigh a site, right? So a little bit more about that in a second. So the social signals they could be using, obviously +1s, likes, shares, the number of followers you have in Twitter, the number of followers you have in whatever social network you're using, the encircles, how many encircles you have for your Google Plus profile, the number of tweets. Some negative factors they could be using there are the number of blocks, for example. There's also been other experiments that have been done that show that actually likes and shares, Facebook likes and shares, actually correlate very well with Google rankings as well. So are they actually using it? I don't know. It's impossible to know. No one can know that for sure except for Google. But if there's a very, very strong correlation, it could very well be true. That means you should look at it a little bit harder. And given that it looks good for your site to have a lot of likes and shares in Facebook, and you're promoting that on your site because it looks like you're more reputable, hey, you might as well do it anyway if you can get it. Okay, in terms of quality, what kind of things can they be looking for? Well, it's been well known for a while now that they're using freshness as an algorithm, the freshness of the page, how recently it's been updated, and how recently it's updated in general. I have an experiment dating back from January to show that if they think your page is fresher, they spider it more often, and it does seem to provide somewhat of a ranking boost as well. I can show that the cache date correlates with higher rankings over the long term. Also, it's been a rumor for a long time that the age of the domain makes a difference. If you have an older domain, they'll rank it, give it a little bit of a boost. Of course, they have over 200 ranking signals, so any and all these could be our fair game for ranking signals. Not only this, but I know from experience that the older the domain, the more links you can build to it. Also, the number of pages makes a difference. The larger the site, the higher it seems to rank. Certainly, the creators of Market Samurai seem to think age of domain and number of pages makes a difference because they include that into their program. Also, just for the simple fact of having a lot of pages, you're going to rank for more keywords, right? And so that's going to increase your traffic as well. Never underestimate the power of the long tail. The more you rank for, the more traffic you're going to get. Site speed. I keep harping on this because so many people seem to underestimate it. I've seen tons of sites that are affected by site speed issues. The latest information that Google published in their SEO videos, best practices, is that your site should be load faster than 2 seconds. You know, that's pretty harsh. I use 8 seconds as a general rule because it seems to me that when it starts loading over 10, 12, 15 seconds, that's when I usually see a correlation in ranking decrease. And some of the things they're looking for here in terms of negatives are, of course, Panda's looking at the design. They've been looking at thin content on the page for quite some time. You know, is the thing that the person is looking for is it right above 500 pixels. It's the first thing they see, and they'll penalize seemingly or demote for too many ads above 500 pixels or so. Also, is there any duplication in the text or the titles? That's another thing that Panda seems to look for. Is there link rot? Matt Cutts has produced a video about this, not to have link rot, and that yes, it can hurt your rankings. If you have too many links that link out from your page, that 404. That's what link rot is. So make sure you're linking out to reputable sources, and make sure there's not any link rot on those links. And finally, as we mentioned with Penguin, keyword hiding and stuffing. They seem to have extra algorithms, namely Penguin, that looks for keyword hiding and stuffing. So that's something that could show a low quality. Finally, reputation. This is the old standby. This is the one that we've known for quite a long time. They've been using for quite a long time. Mentions is just a mention of your site, where your site, www.whatever.com, is associated with some text. If it's associated on a very high PageRank site, you can see a slight ranking boost from this. I know this because I've seen sites mentioned on Wikipedia, and there's no link pointing back to them from Wikipedia, but they're mentioned on a high-profile site like that, and they get a ranking boost. And then, of course, links. Everyone knows that links help you rank. They still help you rank. They're going to help you rank for the next 4 or 5 years at least. Now, in the light of Penguin, they seem to be offering negative ranking factors, including negative link juice. So Penguin hit pages can offer negative link juice. Otherwise, all the other links are 0 or a little bit of a plus. Some links are discounted, like John Mueller just recently published today that they discount links from sites like updowner.com, for example. They just discount that site entirely. Links from that site are worth 0. So it seems to me that these are the kinds of SEO rules we need to think about for the rest of 2012. Hopefully Google doesn't make too many more changes so these stay accurate. And again, I'm going to link to all the reference material I've got for all of this. Either I have in the video or I'll link in the comments below as well. So if you follow these rules, the new Google algorithms should treat your site well. So good luck with that.